This look I was going for like Steve Jobs, the love child, with like a high school librarian. I think I pretty much nailed it. Hey there, welcome to the Quarter Life Crisis Project. My name is Ryan Ricardella and I am so glad that you are here. Today we're going to talk about something that I and millions of other people like me struggle with all the time: asking for shit. If you're new to the channel, the Quarter Life Crisis Project is about living life with intention and taking ownership of our experiences. That means not sitting around and waiting for things to fall into our laps. If we want something to happen, we have to go out and get it. Here's the catch. Human beings are social animals, and very often we require the help of other people to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. Well, how do we get that help? As freaking awesome as it might be, humans can't read minds. Yet. So, if someone has something we want, whether it's time or energy or money or resources, we have to make that known to them. Otherwise, we get in this perpetual cycle of resenting that person for not anticipating our needs, which is not a fair expectation to put on them, and we also resent ourselves for not making more progress towards our goals. It's kind of ironic that asking for help, which is supposed to make things easier for us, is actually one of the hardest things to do. Sometimes it's our pride that gets in the way. We don't want to admit to ourselves or to others that we're not capable of doing the things that we want to do on our own. Sometimes we're confused about what exactly it is that we need and we don't know how to ask. Other times, and this is a big one for me, we're concerned about how the people we're asking for help will perceive us. We don't want them to think that we're a burden or needy or selfish, and that's something that can really get in our way. But whether we like it or not, we need to ask others for help to reach our goals. So how exactly do we go about doing that? I might not be the best person to ask. I struggle doing this all the time, but as I've tried to become more proactive about getting the things I need, here's some things that have worked for me. The first thing, corny as it may be, is just to recognize that it is okay to ask for help. You're not supposed to be able to do everything by yourself. It's against your nature as a human being. That's why people who can do everything by themselves are such enigmas that they have shows about them on National Geographic. So unless you're trying to get on Naked and Afraid, it's fine. You're allowed to ask people for things. The second tip is to be specific about what you need. The more specific you can be, the better, because it will help the person you're asking evaluate whether or not he or she has the capacity to help you. Saying things like, do you have $500 you'd be willing to invest to help me build a prototype of a product to deliver water to people in need? Or, do you have 1 hour a week you're willing to allocate to help me stand up my new venture for cosmetics? Will get you a lot farther than, hey, do you have some money for this thing I'm building? Or, will you mentor me? The more specific you can be, the better. So, take some time to really think about what it is that you need. Oftentimes you'll find that it's less than you thought, which makes asking that much easier. The third tip is to get the person you're asking excited about your vision. Communicating why it is you need the thing you need is just as important, if not more, as communicating what it is that you need. The reason for that is because it gets the person bought into what you're asking for. If he or she can envision and conceptualize the impact that they'll be able to make, he or she is much more likely to say yes. The fourth tip is to think about the barriers the person might be facing and to come up with some creative solutions around them. Sometimes the person you're asking for help would love to help you and just can't. Maybe your boss agrees with you that you deserve a raise, but just doesn't have the budget for it. Maybe you can talk about getting more vacation days instead. Or maybe a prospective mentor would love to mentor you, but just doesn't have any time in their calendar. Maybe he or she can connect you to other prospective mentors or show you some resources that you might find helpful. Tip number 5 is to be humble. At the end of the day, the person that you're asking has something that you want. You don't have to go around kissing asses, and in fact, it's probably counterproductive for you to do that, but make sure the person knows that you respect them and that you value what he or she is going to be able to bring to the table. Tip number 6 is to practice. You don't need to go on with the full script, but if you think about what it is you want to say and how you want to advocate for yourself, the more articulate you'll probably be. Tip number 7, the last tip, is to put yourself in the shoes of the person you're asking. This goes back to a concept I talked about with the Wake Forest Mentoring Resource Center a few months ago. I'll put a link in the description below, and you can also click on this card up here to watch that video. Think about it. If someone comes up to you and asks you for help, if they make a reasonable request and speaks to you about the value they think that you can bring to the table and gives you an opportunity to help them, what would your answer be? Probably yes. You may even be flattered. People like to help each other. It makes us feel good about ourselves. We go around the world a lot of times thinking that people are out to get us in some way or unable or unwilling to help, when in reality people would love to help, they just don't get the opportunity. So if you approach someone with an opportunity to help you out and that will make them feel better about themselves, how could they say no? Which brings me to my last bonus tip. Be prepared for them to say no. It's entirely possible and that's okay. Think about how many people you hear that are really successful who say they had door after door slammed in their face before they finally got the break they needed. Don't get discouraged after the first rejection. It's way easier said than done, but if you give up after the first time, you're just back where you started. So there you have it. I hope this was helpful and that you feel more prepared to be assertive and to ask for the things that you need. It is not easy. And sometimes I feel like a hypocrite standing up here because I struggle to implement these things myself. But I think the more we can put these things into practice, we'll be very pleasantly surprised what we find. So tell me what you think in the comments below. Do you have any other tips that you would share? Do you have any stories where you've asked for help and it's really paid off for you? I'd love to hear about it. And now I'm going to practice what I preach and ask you for your help. Please give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button and share with your friends who you think would enjoy watching as well. The more the merrier, all are welcome. Until next time.